All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this edition of Leak Project. I'm your host, Rex Bear, and we have Scott and Scott from Astronomy Live and the Nibiru channel, Planet X 2016. Now, this is going to be an interesting debate. We're going to be civil throughout this thing. I know I was kind of poking fun yesterday when I did that video and said we're going to have a Mortal Kombat episode today. Well, we're not really going to go that route, but what we are going to do is get information on both sides. Scott from Astronomy Live feels that there is no Planet X, there is no Nibiru, and obviously Scott from the Nibiru channel feels the exact opposite. So I'm going to give them an open platform, and I will moderate this. So I appreciate both of you guys coming out here on the Leak Project. It's an honor to speak with both of you. Thank you for spending time out of your days. How the heck are you?
Good.
Awesome. How are you doing, Scott?
Well, actually, I woke up this morning with I don't know. I didn't feel too good. I think I have like some type of a possibly upper respiratory infection. I don't know if you could notice it in the tone of my voice, but I can barely breathe. And I think after we're done with this interview, I might take a trip to the hospital for a breathing treatment because it's been like this all day. And everybody in my whole entire area has been coming down with this, but no flu-like symptoms, just this deep respiratory irritation. Nothing to do with virus, bacteria, just a deep respiratory irritation. At least that's what they're saying on all of our local news and a few people that I've talked to. And I spent a good bit of time outside yesterday because I live in the Pittsburgh area. It was 73 degrees. It should be 25.
The weather is absolutely incredible right now, and certainly I do see changes. And as far as I think what you're kind of hinting at is you feel like maybe you've been blasted with some wonderful aerosol injections. And I'll tell you, man, I see that stuff on a daily basis, and that's not even a debate anymore. But there is flu going around, I know. In the location that I'm at right now, there's been 1,400 people that have been hospitalized and several deaths from the flu. So, there's a lot of crap going on out there. And one of the things I also notice, and a lot of people bring up very often, is, Venus looks like it's brighter than it's ever been. Earth changes, earthquakes, volcanoes, meteors, comets. All this stuff is going on. There's definitely a lot of money going into underground facilities, etc. Now, one person might say that's because of Planet X. Another person might say it has nothing to do with Planet X. And I don't think that those will validate either of those, options. So, I think that you can say that as kind of circumstantial evidence, but you can't absolutely pinpoint it because of those reasons. They've been building underground bunkers for years. There's been, we haven't been here for 5 billion years. We've been here for 39 years myself. I don't know how long, Scott, you've been here, Scott, yourself, but certainly there are earth changes. There's no question about it. But let's get into this. So what I think the best way to do this is going to be first, we'll have Scott from Astronomy Live tell us a little bit about your scope, what you do in astronomy, and then Scott from the Nibiru Planet X channel will bring some evidence that he feels points to Planet X, and then maybe Scott, you could say, yeah, that looks good, or no, this is why it's not. Is that fair?
Sounds good. Let's rock and roll.
Fantastic. Let's go.
All right. So first of all, I guess I'd like to clarify my position on the whole Planet X thing, because Planet X itself is a bit of a loaded term. And when you say Planet X, that could mean different things for different people. So in the scientific community, Planet X started out as a scientific theory many decades ago. And a search was conducted for Planet X, including by the late Robert Harrington, based on what we as astronomers thought were perturbations in the positions of the outer planets, Neptune and Uranus in particular. Now, in the 90s, the Voyager probe provided data which allowed astronomers to determine a more accurate figure for the mass of Neptune. And that figure, when plugged into the equations, eliminated the perturbations. They seemed to be non-existent, explained away by a better figure for the mass of Neptune. And so that Planet X search was pretty much wrapped up. And Harrington's planet, which he proposed an orbit for, was never found. But now in recent years, a new search is being conducted for a different sort of Planet X, which is commonly called the Planet 9 theory. And this has to do with the orbits of extreme trans-Neptunian objects. So we look at the orbits of these objects and we notice that they seem to be clustering in a particular way. The point at which they reach their closest point to the sun seems to be grouped together in a way that you wouldn't expect in a random distribution. So if there were no planet out there perturbing these orbits over millions of years, you would expect them to gradually, randomly distribute themselves in their orientations around the sun. But that doesn't seem to be what's happening. And so through complex gravitational attractions of how this planet interacts with these objects in ways I won't get into in extreme detail, it's thought that there is something out there that's holding these objects in their orientation. And so that is the Planet 9 theory. Now, this Planet 9 theory proposes an object that is much further away than Harrington's Planet X, and it's based on a completely different set of evidence. But it is what you could describe as a Planet X. But it's very, very different from a conspiracy version of Planet X that says there's something in the sky that you can photograph with a normal handheld camera, especially if it's in the daytime pointing near the sun. That is a very different sort of claim. And the Planet 9 theory that astronomers are looking for would be something that is very far away from the sun, 200 astronomical units or so at its closest point, many times farther away than Pluto. And you would not be able to see it with a normal camera ever. You would need a telescope to detect this, and it would not be visible to the naked eye simply because it would be so dim. And so when you see somebody posting a video of a camera pointed at the sun and something next to it, this is immediately incompatible with the Planet 9 theory. So there are two very different things. And when you say Planet X, like I said, it's a bit of a loaded terminology. And so I personally believe Planet 9 very likely exists. I think that there's a very good chance it's out there. But it's a very different thing than Nibiru or the conspiracy version of Planet X that sweeps through the inner solar system every 3,600 years or so and disrupts life on Earth.
Okay, and I appreciate that. Thank you for explaining that to us. And Scott, if you could kind of give us your reasoning why you feel Nibiru is here and what your interpretation is on Planet X, please.
Well, after years and years of researching the whole Nemesis solar system theory and doing my own research on biblical prophecy and entertaining the works of Gil Broussard and David Wilcock and many, many others, this just doesn't have anything to do with Robert Harrington and Carlos Ferrata. But over the last year, since the beginning of 2016, I started to notice very, very severe changes in our world. It doesn't have anything to do with photographing objects in the sky. If you just take a look at today, what's going on around the world, there are so many things that are not being reported in mainstream media that we don't even know about. The cataclysmic flooding that's going on. And I'm not talking about California. I'm talking about over in Indonesia. There's been catastrophic flooding in Peru, Colombia, Ecuador. I mean, all along the West Coast region of South America. The earthquake activity. And again, you have the people on the other side that say, okay, these are all just natural occurrences. But just before we aired live, I was on the telephone with a friend of mine, who's actually just become a friend of mine over the last few months, and she's a climatologist. And, she has her theories on what's occurring right now with our jet stream. Our jet stream is completely out of control. The northern jet stream, the southern jet stream, both of them. Minutes before we jumped on here, I just took a look at the jet streams, and I'm going to be quite honest with you. When we want to talk about conspiracies, and I had a lot of inside information for the whole entire year of 2016, and it continues today. I don't talk about it a lot in my videos because as well as I do, Rex, you've interviewed everybody. David Mead, Gil Broussard, you've interviewed everybody in the Planet X or Nibiru community, and they have their evidence. The evidence is overwhelming. Just because astronomers are not able to point their telescopes to the sky and photograph it doesn't mean it's not there. The positioning of this system, and this is not a huge, massive solar system like ours. It's actually very small, very small. Now, I just did a video yesterday, and this is actually showing the Nemesis solar system. And this was given to me by a gentleman who just basically came out of the woodwork a few months ago. He was a retired professor of astronomy at a university in California. He's now retired and living back in Chile. And he has been conducting this research since 2005. And, just like I went into the story when I first revealed this information, his wife passed away some time ago, and the man is 70 years old. He has all of this information. He has journals full of documentation, photographs and video. And just yesterday, I revealed under his permission some of what he has captured. And if you take a look at early photographs, specifically the one you're showing right now, this photograph, well, not this one particular, but the similar photograph that's made its way around the internet. Come on, this man has absolutely no reason to lie to me. And he has been describing to me how this system is situated within our solar system. The way he describes it is very simple. If you take a plate, just lay it on the table, stick an orange in the middle of the plate, that would represent the sun. That would be horizontal. You take another plate and set it right next to that vertically, but with a slight angle. And that is the way that this system is situated within our solar system. I asked him several times, I said, well, listen, why can't astronomers see this? He said they can see it. They know damn well that it's there. The governments around the world know that it's there. He rattled off 10 governments around the globe that have been doing this research for a very, very, very long time. And, when we talk about conspiracy, that's exactly what it is. It is a huge conspiracy because, in general, they don't know what to do, and they will never know what to do. And like I said, Rex, you've interviewed everybody. They've given you their take on all of this. They've presented all of their evidence to you. Steve Quayle, I listen to his report every day. I respect these people because they're putting their lives on the line. I just listened to an update from David Wilcock the other day talking about how his life is completely upside down and he has to live with an in-house security team of armed men that live with him. He can't go anywhere because of the information that he's uncovered from credible whistleblowers within the government. So, between me and Scott, we're just little peons in this conspiracy. Just because you can't step into an observatory and see this, of course you're not going to see it. And I've had many, many conversations in depth with Gil Broussard. I asked Gil straight up, why do you think that astronomers cannot see this? And he said, well, it depends on which astronomer you're talking about. Government level, NASA, space agencies, they can see it. He went into, cloaking technology and things of that nature, but he did mention to me that as we get much closer to the 16th of March, 2017, and moving further into the spring and early summer of 2017, it's going to be very, very hard for them to continue their cloaking technology. And it's basic bending light. That's all that it is. If you talk to professional photographers that are not government photographers, they'll tell you that when people are taking these photographs and seeing these large rose petal type anomalies in their photographs, it's not normal. I mean, I've been taking photographs and things of that nature all my life. I've never in my life seen these rose petal type of anomalies in photographs. And yes, those rose petals, they're not Planet X, but something is bending the light from the sun. Something is within our system that is causing major problems with our planet. You know, right now, I mean, again, I've been up for 24 hours. Today, again, you know, going through information that I'm getting from credible people around the world. I've been keeping in touch with a gentleman at the major seismology office in Mexico. And, you know, each and every day, they're uncovering some very, very startling information pertaining to these earthquakes. And
can I jump in for just 1 second, Scott, on the earthquakes and stuff? Because, and I can appreciate what both you guys are saying. And like you said, I've talked to Gil Broussard, Marshall Masters, David Mead. I respect all of them. They're good people, and they bring, you know, a lot of information to the table, and I respect that. And at the same time, for myself, like this picture that I'm looking at right now, this, for me, it doesn't convince me that those are planets. I look at that more as like some type of light that's reflecting off of the equipment in the camera, which is causing these, I don't think they're called lens flares, but these duplicates essentially of the sunlight. Now, I could be wrong. I'm not an expert, but something like this just for myself wouldn't convince me. Now, when I see at the stratosphere aerosol injections, I notice a lot of times they keep those towards the sun. And as a matter of fact, I got some great footage today of these aerosol injections where what they did is they sprayed it and it looked like these long funnels. And then these funnels dissipated, and then it all molded into like one giant gobbledygook blob, essentially. And then that dissipated into these like little tiny clouds, and you could see like the almost the, how do you describe it? Almost like a rainbow effect, just because of whatever kind of chemicals they're using there. I mean, there's no doubt that weather modification is going on. You've got weathermodification.com, which is the first website that comes up that actually is traded on the stock market. I mean, but that still doesn't convince myself of Planet X, but it doesn't convince me the either way also. So, I mean, I can certainly see both sides of this. Now, as far as the earthquakes and stuff like that, that could be caused by this giant exoplanet, Planet 9 out there. That's, in my opinion, because they've got, you know, you've got astrophysicist Dr. Brown that comes out. I know he's the Pluto killer, and I know there's a conspiracy behind that, and I've even thought that before too, you know, to kind of have like a soft disclosure if they do find something that's similar to Nibiru. But at the same time, that still doesn't give me absolute proof or confirmation. And I know that they recently had that NASA conference yesterday where they said that they discovered 7 exoplanets around his sun outside of the Kuiper Belt. And that kind of lines up with the Nibiru theory of the 7 different planets and stuff like that. I get it. But it's still, if it's 3,600 years, and, you know, the orbits and stuff like that, I would think that people, even like myself, could pick up these planetary bodies, because when I've got a Celestron telescope, which it isn't the nicest in the world, but it's certainly nice enough to see some incredible craters on the moon. It's an 8-inch telescope, very similar to what Scott has, but it doesn't have quite as nice as a mount, so it's not quite as stable for astrophotography. But I would say it's very comparable to, you know, the actual scope itself. And, you know, I've got a filter for the sun that gets rid of 99% of the light, so I can stare at the sun all day if I want to with the telescope, and it's this beautiful dark orange. But I do feel that something happened to our atmosphere. And Cliff High said that in 2003, the very top of the atmosphere was ripped off, and I could see that, because if you look at the sky today, it is not as deep and as blue as it used to be. The sun is not as orange as it used to be. I remember the sun used to be like an orange yellow. Now it's like this bright white. And so, I mean, certainly, but I don't know if that's because the sun is just because of the age of the sun combined with the, you know, the atmosphere and all the pollution and everything else. I just think there's so many variables that it's going to be like this right here. Do you really think that these are all planets, Scott? I mean, that we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do you think those are all planets around the sun, or what do you think that is?
That's. I just want to make one correction. The photograph you're looking at right now did not come from a regular camera. These are observatory photographs. What you're looking at is the photograph from the observatory of the planet of the crossing, the Nemesis solar system. The middle being the brown dwarf and the other planets. Now, if you pan through some of those other photographs, you could see the other imaging that they did in motion, and you can also see some of the small moons that coincide with what Harrington discovered. So, we're not looking at photographs that were taken from a 10-cent camera. These are observatory photographs. This particular photograph here was taken in 2012.
But you said it was the Nemesis
Really?
system. So like how far away would that be?
Well, in calculations, the last calculation that he was able to do before he retired, it placed it, and this goes directly in line with Terrell and the Black Star Project. It was below the ecliptic, between Saturn and Jupiter, but just inside the orbit of Jupiter, below the ecliptic, and 780 million miles from the sun. Now, that was August 2016, and that's when he retired because, his wife passed away. He moved back to Chile, where he is from, and that was the end of his research. So he's going to be releasing more photographs and more information from his journals. And, I'm going to be honest with you. I was actually kind of scared to start releasing this information.
Well, that's kind of interesting. Can I jump in?
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Scott.
So that's kind of interesting because it contradicts some information that I happened to find out about this photograph quite directly. So with astrometry.net, you can actually upload this photo and find out exactly where in the sky it's located. And so that's what I did here. And you can see it identifies this star up here as Tycho 2, yada, yada, yada. And it provides you links on the right side, which are handy for a variety of reasons. You have the new FITS image. This has the WCS information embedded in it. Basically, the WCF stands for World Coordinate System. And this gives you the coordinates for every single pixel in the image. So if you wanted to astrometrically measure the position of this object in the sky, you could do that very precisely using this file. It also shows you where on the celestial sphere this image is located in these charts down here. It's in the constellation Capricorn, etc. You can also see the field of view here. It's a very tight field of view, 14.9 by 8.39 arc minutes. But the key here for the purposes of this debate, I want to talk about this file right here, image.kmz. So you can load this directly into Google Sky and actually overlay this image back onto Google Sky. So let's do that for a second. Let me come in here to Google Sky. Is this displaying properly? Can you guys see Google Sky here?
Looks great.
Okay, great. So you got this handy dandy slider right here. I can slide this slider all the way off. And so this is just the background layer of the Google Sky image. And you can use the astrometrically solved file to compare this to any image, really. I could take an image of this area of the sky and use it as a comparison. But just for the purpose of our little debate here, I just want to show you the Google Sky image. And then as I fade in the image, you'll see that the stars all match up with known stars that are in the sky. So let me fade this back out. You can see there's the Google Sky background. And here are the known stars. Now, the only thing that is unknown here is this big, seemingly object thing here, right? So let me zoom out, because I actually located the original image file that this actually comes from. This comes from a much larger image of a larger region of the sky. So I astrometrically solved that as well. Let me see. Let me come in here back to the astrometry site. And let's go over to this tab. So this is actually the original image this comes from. And what we're looking at is this portion of it right here. So let me come back into Google Sky, and I'll layer on the other image onto the background here. So now you can see where this image fits on the original image. And as I fade that out, you see it's a perfect match for this lens flare right here. And this is a lens flare off the planet Venus. You can see all the stars match up, position matches up. It's a match for this larger image here. Now, Scott, you said this came from an astronomer at an observatory who was a professional, and he's 7 years old. Well, I happen to know who took this photograph, and it wasn't a 70-year-old astronomer who's living in Chile. And you can see one thing here. this image, the actual full image is actually huge. It's 1.87 by 1.23 degrees. It's a huge area of the sky, and not something that was taken close up. Like if I use my telescope, for example, my 8-inch telescope, the minimum magnification I can get, the largest portion of the sky I can grab on that thing is about half a degree wide, which is about 3 times the magnification of what you're seeing in this image. But I actually know who took this image because it's Cerey Runyon on Facebook. And you'll notice the red version here, this is exactly what you showed earlier in your video there that I was sharing. This is directly the same image, it's just been tweaked a little bit. And then the green version just color shifted to green. But let me see here. Here's his location. He does live in California. I think he still lives there. And before that, he lived in Germany, not Chile. And I'm pretty sure he's not 70 years old. I could be wrong about that, but I'm fairly sure that's not his age. And I'm also pretty sure, I don't know if he gave you permission to share this photo, but I do know that in the past, we've had issues with this before, where Cerey had his images stolen and used on a previous video back in December, and this was taken down much to his delight at the time. And the photograph in question here was not taken in 2012. This was actually taken just around Christmas last year. And around the same time, I did a webcast of Venus where I showed a lens flare next to Venus because of those photos that were going around from Cerey. And I wanted to show that you can get lens flares of Venus even with the telescope if you have the optical configuration set right. So this actually is another lens flare being generated by Venus here. So yeah, I actually do know where that photo is in the sky. I know when it was taken, and it doesn't seem to match up with the information you just gave.
Scott, what do you think about that?
Well,
This guy be sending you false information. I mean, that seems.
I mean, once again, I know who this gentleman is that he's referring to, and once again, I mean, these are just his opinions. You know, he's producing overlays, and again, you know, I'm not an astronomer by any means, and if this photograph did come from this gentleman, well, you know, I don't know what to say. I get so many emails every single day. I get so many claims on stories and information, and hey, you know, he's the amateur astronomer. So, you know, the public can discern who they want to believe. Do they want to believe him? Do they want to believe me? Do they want to believe what they see with their own eyes? I mean, I will look further into this matter. And, you know, I've wanted to share information with Scott before, but, you know, every time you want to do something like that, you know, it's very hard to believe anything that he says because of what they've done in the past. You know, with the whole entire trolling operation that he belonged to. That is the reason why I don't believe anything that he says. And it's very easy for a man of his intelligence to manipulate any photograph, anything coming from astronomy.net. It's very easy to manipulate things. But again,
Not really, no.
The people can believe what they want to believe, and I simply bring the information to them, period. And I've always said that in every one of my videos. Bottom line, I'm bringing to you the information that I'm gathering. And Rex, you're kind of the same way, you know, with your audience. You're bringing information to them that you're receiving. And yes,
Oh yeah, I've been wrong more than once, and I have no problems admitting that.
Yeah, me too. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I've been wrong many, many times. But see, the bottom line is this is not the point. The point is not debunking someone personally and trying to basically, you know, throw them under the bus. It's getting to the truth. And getting to the truth about a photograph, hey, do what you have to do. But the bottom line is our globe, our country, this world is in dire straits. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether he wants to believe it or not, hey, you know, in the end, we'll all see.
You know, if I can jump in on that real quick, because I certainly do feel that the Earth is in some trouble right now. I mean, I went to New Mexico recently and I took 285 all the, for well over 150 miles, and all that there was fracking sites, oil rigs. I mean, certainly the earth is in dire straits, and I agree with that 100%. I just, feel that as far as the Planet X thing goes, hey, there is a Planet X out there. There's no question. It's just as far as the official version of it, I think that there needs to be some tweaks to get to the actual solid data. And, what we just looked at right here, the way that Scott broke this down from Astronomy Live, I think that seemed pretty spot on. Now, with that said, with you getting a lot of material from people, they could say anything they want. They could say that they're from Timbuktu. They could say that they work specifically for NASA and send you information, and they could be full of it. So I can certainly see that, because I get people all the time that are contacting me saying they're abducted by aliens, and I'll talk to them for 5 minutes and I'll be able to read pretty well. I can pick people up pretty good. For literally almost 20 years, my position with work, I had to know what people were thinking. I had to read their body language and their tonality and their eye movements and all that kind of stuff, because that was my livelihood. I mean, I've read the same books that the CIA reads and the FBI on body language and neurolinguistic programming and stuff like that, just to understand people. So I certainly get that. And there's a lot of people out there that just want attention, and they'll send you something. They say they work for someplace. So that's what's nice when you can get to the facts and the data. And yeah, Scott is a very smart guy, but I don't feel that he's trying to manipulate things in any way, shape, or form here. And as far as, now I will tell you this though, if somebody does a video about what I'm doing and says, okay, Rex is a liar, when I did a video, if I was wrong, and I wasn't, I won't do an intentional video being wrong, but I've certainly done videos in the past where I've been wrong, and I'll come out the next day and say, hey, I was wrong. I made a mistake. Thank you guys for correcting me on that. And if somebody took that video and said, Rex is lying to you, look, then yeah, that would piss me off, because I want to help people. And I hope that that's what people want to do as well, that say, oh, Planet X is real or Planet X isn't real. I mean, if you believe that in your heart of hearts, you can't go wrong with that, man. That's a good thing. If somebody comes out and says they believe Planet X is real when they don't, that's where I have a problem, especially if they're trying to cause chaos and manipulate people and stuff like that, because that can freak people out, man. I mean, that could really scare people. And there's some sensitive folks out there. And one thing that I've noticed with all the different topics that we hit on with Leap Project, and man, we get into some sensitive stuff. It seems like Nibiru is one of the most controversial topics, and you'll get both sides, where you'll have some real nasty people that believe in it and real nasty people that don't believe in it. And I don't think that's helping anybody. So that's what I like about when we can do things like this and be civil and talk about this kind of stuff, because clearly I feel a lot better now about that image. And once again, that doesn't mean that Planet X doesn't exist, but that means that I think that Scott did a pretty good job of breaking that down. Now that's my opinion. So
Yeah,
what else do you have for us?
It definitely helps me. And then again, I get about 1,000 emails a day. I could really only have time to go through about 200 of them a day. And just like you said, I get people that claim to be psychics. I have a guy who emails me just about every day, claims to be of the Anunnaki race. I mean, and I do
I got to jump in real quick. Sorry, I'll let you finish. I had a guy the other day that said that worked for NASA and all these different satellite agencies and stuff, and people are constantly asking me to get this person back on the show. And I talked to this person one time, and they were sending me these pictures and like literally drawings of it was like drawings of circuit boards, and this person's like, yeah, that's a picture of inside of the sun. I said that's a picture of the inside of the sun? Yeah. I just was shaking my head. I just, when people, I'm just like, come on, man, I can't put that out on the show. Are you kidding me? You come out here, you make up, you take some picture, not even a picture, it's a drawing that somebody took. And then you're trying to tell me that's the inside of the sun and its circuit board, and you work for NASA. So yeah, there's some goofy people out there, man. And I get it, but so you got to, anyway, I'm digressing. Please continue.
Well, I'm going to give you a situation that occurred a few months ago. And this is what really starts to boil my blood, and that people try to set you up, and they're damn well that there is a massive disinformation campaign globally. Every single government on the face of this earth does it to their people. And a few months ago, I had an individual that just came out of nowhere, never emailed me anything, sent me this emergency email that he possibly found, the Planet X in the Nemesis solar system. I think he was using Google Sky or one of them platforms. And I really don't even believe in Google Sky because, once again, all of these images can be manipulated. They come from Google. Google controls me, you, and Scott. They control everything. So,
well, but the thing is, I can take my own image and overlay it back onto Google Sky. I don't have to.
I'm just saying, I don't trust Google, not you. I'm just saying I don't trust Google Sky.
Well, you don't have to. That's the beauty of it.
But anyways, getting back to this story real quick. Sorry to interrupt, but this gentleman came out of nowhere, sent me this emergency email with all of these photographs, and it caught my eye. It got me real excited. I looked at the information, and I was like, oh my God, very, very smart, intelligent email. And I immediately put a video together. Yes, I didn't vet the information. I should have, but within minutes of me putting this information together and putting it up on my YouTube channel, one of my subscribers, my subscribers have become very close with me. They keep an eye on everything going around in the trolling camps on YouTube and Facebook. And within minutes, this guy appears in the comment section of Dazza the cameraman. And then minutes later, the whole debunking video is coming up that, Scott did the debunking video, and you know which one I'm talking about. The coordinates. So people try to set me up, Rex. That's the bottom line. They try to set me up, and this guy was in Dazza the cameraman's YouTube channel comment section within minutes of sending me that email. And they knew exactly what was being done. So, this whole operation of, trying to feed me fake information happens every day. It's very hard to, level it all out, but I do the best that I can.
I'd like to jump in here and try to set the record straight about that for a moment, because I know the person you're referring to. He did join a hangout that I had with Daz the cameraman, but he didn't deliberately try to mislead you. He did agree that my debunking video was correct, but he didn't know that when he sent you the information. Obviously, I hadn't done the debunking video yet. He just saw something he thought was unusual in Google Sky. He probably legitimately thought it was Nibiru, and he passed that information on to you, and then you made your video. And then I made my video responding to it, showing what it actually was, which turned out it was Saturn, the planet Saturn, taken by the SLU telescope. And with the SLU service, they'll provide their images to Google Sky, and those images will end up on Google Sky. And that's what happened. He was using Google Sky. He saw the image, which was actually taken by a SLU telescope, where somebody had taken a picture of Saturn. And obviously, Saturn's not going to be in the Google Sky background layer because it's an all-sky survey. It's not designed to show the planets. And so it looked like it was out of place. It looked like it was unusual, and that information was passed along as Nibiru. Now, the thing that gets me, though, is I did that debunking video, and then the response to that from you was claiming that you never said it was Nibiru, when the title of your video said it was coordinates for Nibiru. So to me, it's just about having the intellectual integrity to have this debate in an honest way. And so, when you say something like that, it sort of is difficult to have a civil discussion about it when we're not being honest with each other. I mean, honestly, the information I just showed you was not my opinion. This is my analysis of the data, and these are the facts. And I'm not manipulating anything here. In fact, I can't manipulate anything here. That's the beauty of it. Anyone can upload a photo to astrometry.net and find out exactly where it is in the sky. And if astrometry.net is lying, it's not going to match up with the background stars. Now, I understand you don't trust Google Sky, and that's fine. That's fair. But I can take a picture of the same coordinates, which I now have, with my own telescope and see if it matches up. And I guarantee you it will. And I know for a fact when that photo was taken. And the other thing that kind of gets me is this isn't the first time that Runyon's photos have ended up in one of your videos being said as something they're not. And I don't know who's grabbing those photos. I'm not accusing you. I don't know. I can't know that information. But what I do know is perhaps one thing you might consider in the future is checking with Runyon's Facebook page and seeing if the photos that you're being provided match any of his in the future before you run with them. Because clearly there's a pattern here where his photos in particular, for whatever reason, keep ending up, in your videos. And, I know it's probably not a fun thing for you to have to retract one of your own videos. I know it wouldn't be for me. So, I'm just saying it would behoove you to check that in the future, just to make sure you're not accidentally sharing someone else's photos when that someone else is someone who's now repeatedly had his work shown on your channel like that. So that's all I'm saying. And this is not, like I said, I'll say it again, the data, what I just presented is not a matter of my opinion. It's just a matter of the facts. If you do the analysis on this, that's what you find. So that's what gets me. I know you say you can't trust me, but why, honestly, can you not trust me? The troll group that I was a part of, I was only loosely affiliated with, but in any case, the reason I was affiliated with them at all was for incidents like this, because they have eyes and ears for seeing these things, like, checking Runyon's photos. And they were involved in contacting him the first time around, letting him know that his photos were on your video. And so to me, that's something, that's a positive contribution there to get that information to him. So I don't endorse or condone some of the rude behavior that some of the individuals of that group engage in. Obviously, I don't permit that on my own channel, in my own hangouts and stuff. If someone is acting rude in one of my hangouts, I'll just kick them. And as you know, I don't use foul language in my videos or anything like that. So, when I see a video calling me out and accusing me of not owning a telescope and saying I'm making despicable remarks, honestly, I'm not making despicable remarks. I'm just stating facts. And yeah, those facts might be uncomfortable and inconvenient, but they are what they are, and they're stubborn things. And I do own a telescope, obviously. This isn't rented from some university or anything. This is my personal telescope. This is an LX200 Classic 8-inch. I've written software for it. I can control it with the joystick thanks to that software. I mean, that's
Come
something.
on, man. That's just for the Sony PlayStation 4.
Yeah, right.
Those are cool, by the way, man. That's awesome.
And until I did that, there was no option for that. You couldn't do this with an LX200 Classic. So I can't be lying to you. I'm the only person in the world who has this capability with an LX200 Classic that I know of, because I'm the one who wrote the software. And I still have the price tag, the original price tag for that telescope. I mean, there it is. I bought the scope from Oceanside Photo and Telescope in California. I'm sorry, I got that upside down. About 13 years ago this year. And there it is. There's the barcode. There's the price. There's the description. 8-inch LX200 SCT Schmidt Cassegrain telescope is what that stands for. That's this telescope right here. So I own this telescope. This is my personal equipment. I've written the software that does this. I'm not lying about these things. People can trust me because that's what I do. I present the information, and yeah, sometimes it requires me to develop my own tools to do it. Sometimes it requires software like this. I use this software and these joysticks to track the landing of the Falcon 9 last weekend. And 2 weeks ago, I tracked Comet 45P's close approach to Earth using the same program. So, sometimes I have to develop my own tools to get these things done, or do, complex math to predict when the SDO eclipse season is going to start or something like that. And maybe that's boring to some people, but it's the truth and it's the facts. And sometimes it leads to cool stuff like this. So I don't know what else to say except people can trust me, and I don't know why you would say otherwise.
Well, I'll be straight up front now that you've tooted your own horn for the last 5 minutes about your joystick and your telescope. Going back to August, September, October, November, you know damn well that you were involved with WTF Sky, Mari, and Jake, and all of the hideous crap that you guys put out on those Hangout videos. Don't make me go there and start pulling these videos up, because it's not what we're here for. And that's what has pissed me off about you from day one, is your arrogance and your trolling with these people. So you're an educated man. You're sitting there in a suit and tie. You look fantastic. I'm sure you're very professional. Why would you associate yourself with these people? Scott, what pisses me off the most is when these people send me emails from that group pointing a gun an assault rifle down the, listen, I'm getting very upset now, pointing the barrel of the gun down a camera and sending me that photograph, putting my grandmother's house with the coordinates from Google Maps in their damn videos, and then putting the coordinates in the comment section for anybody to click on it and go to my 90-year-old grandmother's house. Okay, you've been in these videos. Okay, that is my problem with you. That's my problem with you, is the total nasty criticism. It's like pure ghetto. That's what makes me mad. You know damn well that you've been in bed with Dazza the cameraman, who is the ultimate debunker of Planet X and everything else. So why would you, an educated professional man, stoop to the muddy levels to hang out with these people and produce these ridiculous videos? Why? Answer the question.
Well, Downs the cameraman's a very civil guy, and he's got a lot of patience. I admire his patience, actually. I don't find his videos despicable at all. Now, if you received threats and photos and all that, that is horrible, and I don't condone that. I never have. I am in videos with WTF Sky. She's somebody who once firmly believed in Nibiru and was in WSO's what I would call, honestly, a cult, and she found her way out of that. And so obviously that's going to be of interest to me. I want to know how she found her way out of that, and I want to help other people get out of it too. Now, I have been in some hangouts with her. I don't think those hangouts are particularly despicable, and I certainly don't think my comments have been despicable. I don't think you can blame me for what anyone, what any random person sends you who claims to be associated with Troll, and maybe they are associated with Troll. Troll doesn't, as far as I know, Troll doesn't even exist anymore, and I'm not.
That's right, because I took them down. I took them down. They don't exist, and I personally disbanded those scumbags myself. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's great, but I was part of that group because of incidents like the previous incident with Runyon's photos. They helped locate those photos. They helped contact Runyon, and so, to me, as I said, that's a positive contribution, and I'm happy to join a hangout about that contribution or something similar, and talk about those things when they're found out, when actual thefts are discovered. 2 of my photos were taken and used by WSO without my permission, and that turned out to be an issue too. And
actually, can we stop real quick, because there's a lot of speculation about what happened in that incident. So if you could clarify it for the audience, I think that would help everybody out.
Okay, fair enough.
I had a long conversation with Runyon about his photographs. He was publicizing them on Facebook a few months ago, and somebody had sent me the photographs, and I had a very long conversation with him, and it was very civil. And I told him, listen, don't produce and place photographs on Facebook where people can simply click, copy, and shoot it in an email. Don't do it if you're trying to sell these photographs to an astronomy magazine, which he does. He's a professional photographer, amateur astronomer. So I know the man very well, had many, many conversations with him, and that's the bottom line. So if he's still putting his photographs on Facebook, hey man, that's on him. But there's something that I want to add, Rex, real quick. Getting back to this whole hangout crap with this WTF Sky and Astronomy Live. These individuals formulated a list of people that they were going to go after, quote, a hit list, basically. And lo and behold, my dear friend, you were on it. The Leak Project was on it. BP Earthwatch, Pastor Paul Begley, myself, Chris Potter. And Chris Potter reads off a physicist's paperwork. Same thing with WSO and Steve Olson. And however, in Scott's last video with WTF Sky, he says that Scott's physicist basically got her education on the back of a matchbook cover. So that is the type of criticism that is just ridiculous. You don't even know the person. You've never reviewed the paperwork, but yet you insinuate that this person got their information from the back of a matchbook cover. Okay.
Well, actually, I have reviewed their paperwork since, Chris Potter showed the paperwork page by page in his video, and I detailed exactly why and how it was wrong. So, for example, this so-called physicist maintains to this day that the Earth passing in front of the sun from SDO is not the Earth passing in front of the sun from SDO, and that it can't be the Earth for reasons that I've explained countless times now on my videos. Last year, I did a video taking his paper and showing point by point where it was wrong. And these were mistakes that would have been very basic to any real physicist. So there are only two possibilities here. Either this person is not a real physicist, or they're a real physicist who's having a laugh and deliberately doing things wrong to yank someone's chain. Either way, it's unethical and just morally wrong to me. But I've detailed exactly where those calculations were wrong. For example, they claim the SDO eclipse seasons should be exactly 6 months apart. But the problem is they don't account for the fact that the SDO orbit changes over time due to torquing from the Earth's equatorial bulge. This produces an effect called the regression of nodes. Its longitude of ascending node decreases over time, and that wasn't accounted for in their calculations at all, let alone any other perturbations that might happen to the spacecraft over 6 months of time. And so they make these absolute statements based on very rough approximations that are at a high school level of understanding at best, and quite frankly wrong. Additionally, they say things like, let's see here. What's the other one they do quite frequently? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, one of the things that kind of surprises WSO frequently, and to some extent this whole Chris Potter thing as well, is the fact that it was a partial eclipse. Well, that's what I predicted. I predicted a partial eclipse at the end of the last eclipse season before it happened. And then I predicted it again before this eclipse season happened. And I predicted that it would start earlier than it did last year. I got the date exactly right. And, this, again, they claim is proof that it's not Earth passing in front of the sun, because if it were, it would have to be exactly 6 months apart. That's just not the case. And so using nothing but my own observations, not using Google Sky here, not using NASA data, using nothing but that telescope right there, I was able to collect my own observations of the SDO spacecraft and predict the start of the eclipse season before it happened. There is no explanation given for how I was able to do that at all, because there is no explanation. The fact of the matter is I was able to do it with that telescope because that's all it is. It's the Earth passing in front of the sun. The other thing they like to say is that it's not 12 hours different. They say in one eclipse season it occurs at such and such an hour. The next eclipse season, 6 months later, they claim it should happen 12 hours earlier or later. And because Earth's on the other side of the sun, SDO would have to be opposite the sun, so it should be 12 hours different. Well, the problem with that is we measure our days relative to the sun, not relative to the background stars in that sort of perspective. If you look at that perspective, there is a clock that runs on star time. It's called the sidereal clock, or sidereal time. And by sidereal time, it actually is 12 hours different. And so I showed that in my calculations as well. So this physicist got things completely wrong that they should definitely know if they're actually who they say they are, and if they're actually telling the truth. And that's just not the case. So when you say that I haven't reviewed the documentation, actually, like I said, I have. And based on that, I'm seeing very simple mistakes that a real physicist should not be making unless they're deliberately pulling someone's leg. So those are not kind possibilities that are left, but unfortunately, that's all that's left to conclude from this. So perhaps you find that conclusion despicable, but it's the truth.
So she's a fake.
She's either a fake, or I can't rule out, I don't know who it is, so I can't rule out the possibility they actually have a degree, but they're deliberately doing things wrong in order to reach the wrong conclusion and make something look mysterious. Maybe they're stringing Chris Potter along, but they actually have a physics degree and they think this is all a big laugh. I don't know. I don't know which of those possibilities it is, but either way, the results are completely wrong, and the papers aren't worth the paper they're printed on, if they're printed. And I think they're just PDFs, but you get the idea. It's absolute nonsense. And Chris Potter just released another PDF or showed it in a video a few days ago talking about the new eclipse season, saying the same thing, saying it's still not the Earth passing in front of the sun, and listing pretty much the same reasons as last year. And yet no explanation is given for how I, an amateur astronomer, was able to independently predict that it would start on February 14th, that it would be a partial eclipse, and even produce an animation showing the angle that the Earth would come in and start to cover the sun and then go back out. And that's exactly what happened. It was a perfect match for my prediction generated with data from that telescope. So, what are we left to conclude there?
Can I jump in on that real quick? Because that's one of the things that I'm starting to learn with the, with the orbits and stuff like that, since I picked up my Celestron telescope is, it's neat because you can see Venus every night where it's located and you can see the different stars and stuff like that. And then when you track it with your telescope, it's amazing how fast they move. I mean, if that thing isn't automatically tracking the planets or even the sun, I mean, it moves so fast and you can't really tell with your eyes, but then when you're looking under a telescope, so it's just amazing. But then you can start to figure out the graphs and the orbits and stuff like that, so you can keep track of it better, and it's a lot easier. So that's why I think that this Planet X thing, wouldn't there be some type of orbit that you would think you'd be able to track it easier if it's as close as some people say that it is? And that's where I kind of have the disconnect there. But once again, if you go back to the Planet 9 theory and that thing is causing the sun to tilt as far away as it is, I mean, that's a pretty big deal. So there's definitely things going on. I mean, there's no question. And
well, the whole Planet 9 theory, they're basing it on mathematics. There's been no visual, no imagery, no nothing. And I mean, there's a lot of people out there right now that believe that they started leaking the Planet 9 theory and information out as basically disinformation, change your mindset. But, I've listened to every single interview with these two astronomers. And just like yourself, Rex, I could see the body language just watching the NASA press conference.
Well, I did hear that the press conference, I did hear that I didn't watch it, but from a friend of mine that watched it, she said, man, it looked like they were all just reading off of a script. So
no, they looked like they were pre-programmed zombies. And the one lady with the long brown hair, I forget her name, but I've seen her in many, many History Channel productions based on astronomy. So, again, it's very hard to accept anything that comes from an agency or an organization that has a track record for deceiving the public, deceiving the world, actually. And we can't even believe anything that we see now in mainstream media. More and more people are relying on people like me and you, alternative media. I mean, look what CBS did yesterday. They rebranded CBS News as Real News. It's now
that's
part
corporate
of
bullshit.
slogan.
That's the perfect CBS corporate bullshit.
Exactly. So the bottom line is, I have to defend myself in the fact that, listen, I'm gathering as much information as I can because I am on a subject that I have believed in since a college professor of mine brought it to my attention in 1987, just in the middle of a class.
Let me jump in on that real quick too, just to kind of add to the Planet X possibility. And still, I'm not gonna say that I believe it exists, but there's been some people that have some very prestigious positions in the military and have had specific positions in the military that told me that it's absolutely real. But I'm still not convinced because somebody that has a specific title tells me that. I mean, at the same time, it could be a disinformation campaign. It could have been disinformation to them. Maybe they did go to a conference where some general said, yes, Planet X is out there. We're going to build these bunkers. But you know what? That can be a compartmentalization. That in and of itself could be a system designed to get people to say, okay, yeah, well, we need to fund more money into these underground bunkers when maybe they're doing it to prepare for World War III. Maybe they're doing it to prepare for an asteroid strike or something else. Or just continuation of life. Yes, we do know that they have a seed vault in Norway. And but that makes sense. It's good to have something to prepare for certain catastrophes. And I think that will be, something necessary for the continuation of life. We are on a rock pretty close to the sun. We're on a giant rock that's circling the sun, and there's a lot of stuff out there. So I get it. And there have been catastrophes in the past, and there is a lot of evidence. And if you are a religious person, and a matter of fact, I don't know if Scott is a religious person, but I think you are, aren't you, Scott? You're a Christian, right?
I am.
So you're not a Luciferian, you're a Christian. and
I appreciate being called a Luciferian at that.
If anybody's going to call anybody a Luciferian, I guess it would be me because I'm agnostic. Just so as from a Christian point of view, if you don't know, sometimes I've been called a lot worse than a Luciferian, and I'm not. I was saying that facetiously because I am very neutral on the subject, and I am kind of anti-religious. But I certainly, that's my own personal beliefs, and I know I have very good friends and family members that are religious and that give you the shirt off their back if you needed it. And I was raised Christian. I get it. So I very strongly strongly respect people that have religious beliefs. And I think that that's fantastic. And I do believe in a higher power and divine providence. Once again, I'm just agnostic, meaning I don't know what God is, and I can't explain God. So I appreciate people's beliefs though. And you're like you guys, I think both of you guys are Christian, and hopefully after this presentation, for the cause of Nibiru, Planet X, survival, continuation of life, science, technology, and just friendships and stuff like that. Hopefully, we can all work together now and not look at this as kind of throwing shit back and forth at each other.
Well, I mean, certainly I don't, I know in the video where I got called out recently on Nibiru channel, it was said that I was trying to undermine people's religious beliefs, and I would certainly never do that. I am a Christian, and I would never tell anyone to stop believing in God or whatever their religious belief happens to be. It may be a surprise to many people that I'm actually a Christian. I don't really go all preachy on my channel, and so people don't expect that of me, but that's what I am. So I would never accuse Nibiru channel of not being a Christian. I would never try to attack his religious beliefs or where he stands on that. So it's things like that I just wish we could cut through some of the accusations, some of the false accusations that I see made about me. Things like not owning a telescope, or not being Christian and being Luciferian, or what have you. I just see these claims repeated all the time, and I it's unfortunate because there's no need for that. We can talk about.
Let me, sorry to interrupt. I just want to jump in real quick to you on Scott's defense from Nibiru Planet X channel, because I mean, if somebody came after me once again and started saying all these things and accusations and stuff, and if it wasn't my intent, then I would be like, wow, and then if there were other people out there trolling, saying nasty stuff, and if I was getting pictures of, somebody pointing a gun at me or something like that, or pointing a gun at Leak Project's symbol or something like that, and if you were hanging out with that person, then I would speculate, I mean, I can certainly understand that. So that's the problem with the internet, man. And that's the problem with when people don't communicate and talk to each other, is it seems like the internet could be a bathroom wall. You can say anything about anyone at any time, and it can get pretty nasty. So, I think the communication thing is essentially, especially in today's day and age. So stuff like this doesn't happen because, if we would have all been working together a year ago, I mean, just think of the possibilities. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there and things that really are important and that we need to work on. It would be good if we didn't have to fight each other over it all the time. That's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, it's very, very hard to wake up every single day and want to go outside and start your car and hope to Christ that it doesn't blow up. Back in September, I mean, I have a huge court case coming up in April for two individuals that were planting a pipe bomb under the wheel well of my car. And if it wasn't for an old steel milker, God, this cough medicine's getting to me.
Are you robotussing it, buddy?
If it wasn't for an old steel mill worker, neighbor of mine, and Joe, I love you, man. These people would have blew me up. So they're currently in jail, $250,000 bond, straight cash. Now, I've already been to several of their hearings, and these individuals from his hangout people, they called me on it, and they said, well, hey, produce the police report. Well, Rex, if somebody did something like this to you, would you be producing police reports on an open forum like YouTube during an ongoing investigation? Absolutely not. Now, there are individuals in this group that back in early September sent my 13-year-old daughter pornographic photographs in her inbox on Facebook, which absolutely traumatized her. So these are the reasons why I am like I am. So
well, okay. Here's the thing.
I had to deal with my ex-wife. I had to deal with my daughter. I had to deal with now my own security and my own safety, because the same trolls are in my YouTube channel comment section 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How is that possible? Well, me and Chris Potter and a few others, we've already uncovered the organizations that these troll groups work for. And I have a friend of mine, ex-military, worked in intelligence and communications for 22 years. Okay, I've sent him the emails that have been sent to me by these individuals, and he's able to track them with his intelligence. And guess what? They all came from a government server. How is that possible? A freaking YouTube troll has access to a government server to troll me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. Well, you know, my guy has already found who these people are, where they're located, and the majority of them have criminal backgrounds. And it's just like the drug industry, you know, illicit drugs. You get busted and they drag these people straight out of court. You know, computer fraud, computer hacking. Yeah, they get busted. Okay, listen, now you're going to work for us. So here's the deal. This is what you're going to do. And this is what these people do. They have a telemarketing office set up in Canada. They have one set up in the United States and the UK, New Zealand, and Australia. It's a fact.
Here's the thing. You know, a lot of allegations here have been made. But when this all started, Daza, myself, and you had a hangout that was pretty civil. It was extremely civil. And then afterwards, almost immediately, you turned around and released a video claiming that I was completely wrong in my calculations and that you had contacted two or maybe one of two physicists, and they had sent you a 13-page PDF file that completely destroyed my calculations. Well, it turns out that was not true at all. And both those physicists have been contacted. We know that neither one of them had been contacted by you. And so when, you know, I find something like that out, it becomes difficult for me to trust further allegations that I hear from you about someone else, because I know the allegations that were made about me were false. And so when I hear
they're false, you were salivating at the opportunity to get your hands on that bogus report. And I told you 10 times. I told you 10 times. I was bluffing both of you because immediately I got information on you and Daza and who you people are and what you do. So therefore, I was toying with you. And you and Daza, man, you guys were salivating to get your hands on that bogus report. And I led you on. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching you jitter and Daza sending me email after email after email, and then doing stupid videos about me, putting all my Facebook personal photographs into his productions. Ooh, man, you guys are real freaking professional. Keep up the good work, buddy.
Okay, wow. Like I said, it's difficult for me to trust allegations that you make if you're willing to be dishonest about me and willing to, you know, make up a report that doesn't exist. You know, it hurts your own credibility. It destroys your reputation. And so
my reputation will never be destroyed, and neither will my credibility. Those are your personal opinions, once again.
But you can understand why I would have that opinion, because it's based on what happened to me. So why would I take your word at it when you say, you know, pornography was sent to your daughter? That's very, very terrible if true. But
yeah, then they asked me to circulate the photograph. Oh, send me the photograph. We want to see it. Oh, okay. Then I get nailed for sending pornography through email. You think I'm freaking stupid, boy? Wake up.
Right. So, you know, just like before, though, it's all about seeing if if you're actually telling the truth, because there's this history now of things that you've said that haven't turned out to be true. And in some cases, perhaps that's not your fault. Maybe somebody sent you the photo we talked about tonight. Maybe maybe somebody was pretending to be a 70-year-old man. I don't know. But I know that in the past, you know, you've bluffed me. You made up a fake report that didn't exist. And the reason that Daz and I were so eager to get our hands on it is because we knew it didn't exist. I knew my calculations were right. And I knew the pair of physicists wouldn't disagree with them. And so I knew you had to be lying to me. So I was trying to get you to produce the report because I knew you couldn't. And so that doesn't help you at all. That only destroys your own reputation. And so from that point forward, and that happened very early on when I started encountering you, from that point forward, I didn't trust a word that came out of your mouth. if you tell me that, somebody sent pornography to your daughter, like I said, that's terrible if it's true, but I don't know that I can trust it. I'm not going to take your word on it simply because you said it happened, because I know you didn't contact those professors. So why would I automatically trust you when you say that somebody contacted your daughter? I wouldn't doubt there's an element of truth in some of the things that you say, and maybe all of it's true. I don't know, but I can't trust it based on your word alone. That's what I'm saying. And so, yeah, I was associated with Troll in some capacity. I am friends with WTF Sky. I helped her with the visuals on a video that came out around Christmas. I thought it was pretty funny, making fun of Nibiru. You'll notice the video I worked on, though, it didn't poke fun at any particular person. I didn't call you out. I didn't call WSO out. It was just a video about Nibiru in general, and I thought it was a funny little thing. Some people may not have been, so humorous about it and may have found it offensive, and I'm sorry if that's the case, but it was all meant in good humor. So, the videos I produce, I don't think are, I don't see how it's despicable. And, if some of these things happen, yeah, they are despicable. And like I said, I want nothing to do with that. I'm not responsible for that. You can't put that on me. But when you say that these things happen and all we have to go on it is your word, it's very difficult to trust that when I know you made this whole story up about 13-page PDF. And I know, Runyon's photos keep ending up in your videos, and I don't know why that is, but, it hurts your credibility even if you weren't responsible for it, because when I see your videos, I don't know whether that's really what you say it is, or is it, somebody else's photos that have been purloined and taken and the date and the contents are being lied about. I don't know. I can't trust it. And so I have to do the investigation on it. In cases like this, I find out, oh, you know what? That photo wasn't taken in 2012. That photo was taken in December. And that photo was pretty close to the ecliptic there because it's right next to Venus. And, I can look up those coordinates and see what's actually there. So, that's why we have to do this. And fortunately, we have tools like astrometry.net. I can't manipulate that. Anyone can upload photos to it and find out where the coordinates are, and then take a picture of the actual coordinates and make sure the stars really match up. And that's what you'll find happens. So, this isn't a matter of opinion. I'm just stating facts here. And, that's why I have trouble trusting your word on things.
Well, I'm not going to lose any sleep on that fact, but let's just cut right to the chase here, and let's answer one question. So you continue to try to disprove that there isn't anything going on within our solar system. There is no Planet X, there is no Nemesis, there is no Nibiru.
That's not what I said.
Well, I've heard you say it many of times, but anyways, what I would like is, while we have the attention of however many viewers, why don't you prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is no existence of Planet X, Nibiru, the Nemesis solar system? Prove it. Prove it. Well, I'm trying to prove it's there. You're trying to, but you can't. You use the fancy terminology and the mathematics, which 95% of the people don't understand, but prove it. Get out there, man, and prove it that it doesn't exist.
Okay, well, once again, as I stated at the start of this debate, I believe there is probably a Planet X out there, that the Planet 9 theory is probably, there's probably something to it, that there's probably something way out in the solar system that's causing these effects we're seeing. But that's not the same as Nibiru sweeping into the inner solar system, causing devastation to the inner planets every 3,600 years or so. So that's the difference. And, here, let me pull up this video. So here's what a minimum mass brown dwarf would do to the solar system if it swept through the inner solar system every 3,600 years. Almost right away, the orbits of the planets are basically destroyed. And by the end of it, you don't even recognize what's left of the solar system. Now, it's kind of interesting here. There's something very familiar about all this.
Are you going to share the screen with us?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
That's okay. We're like waiting.
What are you looking at, Scott?
Are you using the Sandbox simulation program?
No, I'm not using Sandbox.
Because I've already been filled in on this whole animation deal that they're setting up. And, you have to enter all kinds of parameters. And as you enter all of these different parameters, you get different effects. But anyways.
Okay, well, this isn't Gravity Sandbox. Gravity Sandbox is the equivalent of a game compared to this thing. This is a high-end program for analysis of orbits. This is called ORSA. It's an open source free program. Anyone can download it. It runs on Linux. There is a Windows version, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's not as stable as the Linux version, which is what it's really intended for. The Windows version is just a port. Anyway, so this is what a minimum mass brown dwarf would do to the solar system if it swept through every 3,600 years. And I'm using very generous assumptions here, generous to the notion that there could be some Nibiru out there sweeping through the solar system. I'm keeping the distance that gets to the sun no closer than the asteroid belt. It doesn't even get all that close to Earth, but it fits with the quite frequent claim that Nibiru caused the asteroid belt by colliding with some early planet in the solar system. So it gets that close, but no closer. And within just a few orbits, it's already completely destroyed the solar system. And there's something very familiar about this. If you have been paying attention to the news about Planet 9, you might recognize what this chart looks like. It looks like the charts you see for Planet 9. But the difference here is that this object sweeps through the inner solar system. And so its gravity is directly constraining the orbits of the known planets in the way that Planet 9, if it exists, is constraining the orbits of extreme trans-Neptunian objects that stay far beyond Pluto and Neptune. They're way out there. And this thing would be even further out there potentially. So, it has this elliptical orbit, but in this case, the elliptical orbit passes through the inner solar system. And that's the key difference here. That's why you see this happening. The planets like Earth and the others, they are now in elliptical orbits themselves that are basically 180 degrees opposed in alignment to Nibiru, which is down here at the corner. And this is the same thing you see with Planet 9. It's the Kozai mechanism. You see Planet 9 in this elliptical orbit, and you see the extreme trans-Neptunian objects that we've been finding, things like Sedna, Eris, etc., in these elliptical orbits that are 180 degrees turned around from Planet 9. And so it's that same gravitational mechanism, but in this case, it's affecting the inner planets because the planet, in this case, Nibiru, is sweeping through the inner solar system. So that's the key difference. That's why we know that Nibiru is just plain silly, because the solar system can't survive that kind of encounter, even on a relatively short basis from astronomical terms. So, you could have a situation. Here's the thing. You could have a situation where some rogue planet, rogue meaning it's not gravitationally bound to any star, or another star passes close to our solar system at some point in ancient history. That actually is known to have happened with Schultz's star passing relatively close to our solar system, and it may have stirred up the Oort cloud of comets when it did so. It was a red dwarf. It made a single pass by the solar system many thousands of years ago, and we now see that star, and we can actually trace its trajectory back and see that it passed very close to our solar system. Something like that could happen, but that's a one-time event. That's something that maybe, and this is really stretching it, but maybe ancient man saw this star in the sky when it flared up. If it experiences flares, it's possible that this red dwarf might have been visible by naked eye just barely. So maybe ancient man saw this star and noticed over time from year to year that it was slowly moving through the sky. But even if that's the case, that's a one-time event. Schultz's star is not coming back in 3,000 years or any number of thousands of years. It's gone. It's out of here. And so whatever effect it had on the solar system was a one-time event. We know with the case of Planet 9, if that exists, it's not just a one-time event. It's orbiting the sun, and it's constraining the orbits of the extreme trans-Neptunian objects pretty consistently. And it may have tilted the plane of the ecliptic relative to the sun's axis of rotation. All these effects over many millions of years. But if it were passing through the inner solar system, this is roughly what it would look like. And yeah, you can input different parameters here. You could start Nibiru off at a different point. You could give it a different mass. You could bring it closer into the sun or a little further out. But in the end, you're going to end up with a situation which looks drastically different than our solar system. Not only are these orbits extremely elliptical, but if you look at them, let me come back here, it kind of reminds me of that chart from the original Star Wars film on the Death Star, where you see all these wonky looking orbits and stuff. That's what our solar system would basically look like. And so it's very different from what we actually see. And that's why we know that Nibiru is nonsense. That doesn't mean there isn't a Planet X, but it's not the conspiracy version of a 3,600-year orbit that sweeps into the inner solar system and causes devastation on Earth. Yes, things are happening on Earth. Bad things are happening on Earth. But that doesn't require the existence of Nibiru for that to be the case.
Well,
And
I tell you,
what is happening then? In your professional opinion, what is heating the core of the Earth up? What is the problem?
What is heating the core of the Earth? Well, I don't know what's heating the core of the Earth up if something is heating the core of the Earth up.
What's causing the severe situation with our jet stream in the northern hemisphere?
I'm not a climatologist either. What I can tell you is it's not Nibiru. That doesn't mean I have the explanation for everything. If I knew everything, that would be great, but I don't claim to know everything. What I do know is it's not this. It's not Nibiru. It's not this.
And I just want to add to that too, like we were talking about before, Scott, there's definitely stuff going on. And if you want to believe Cliff High about the 2003 being the year that the top of the atmosphere was ripped off, and I got to give you my own personal opinion here. I definitely think something happened in the atmosphere without a shadow of a doubt. And I feel that that's probably why the government has been sold this geoengineering, weather modification, cloud seeding, aerosol stratosphere injections, whatever name you want to put to it, call it whatever you want. They're not contrails. There's a difference. And there's plenty of evidence to point to that. So I feel that something happened to the atmosphere and they're doing their best to try and offset what they did. That's my own personal opinion. I think there's plenty of evidence to point to that being a good possibility. And, I'll leave it at that. But I got to say, I feel that this was a productive meeting. I really do. I don't think that anybody was disrespectful to each other. I mean, I know that you guys are both passionate and you've both kind of seen some pretty gnarly things out there. I have too. I go through this kind of shit on a daily basis. I mean, I don't know how many people troll my channel, and I'd be as neutral on things as possible, and I still get the crap trolled out of me. And it is what it is. I guess if you're going to put yourself on the line and talk to people about this kind of stuff, be prepared for that kind of stuff. And in closing out tonight, is there anything else that you feel is pertinent, Scott from Astronomy Live or Scott from Nibiru Planet X 2016 Nibiru channel?
Well, I was going to let Nibiru channel go first, but I mean, I think I've said a lot tonight. I hope some of it sunk in. I hope that Nibiru channel takes some of it to heart and hopefully does due diligence, before sharing photos that are supposedly from 70-year-old astronomers and show Nibiru or whatever. But regardless, what you say matters and credibility matters, and it doesn't help anyone to make up a story to try to bluff someone and get delight out of that. That's not productive and that's not helpful. So I just hope that going forward we don't see those kinds of stories created for the sake of entertainment, for the sake of trolling or whatever. And on my channel I don't allow that kind of thing to go on with my hangouts, and I'm very sorry if terrible things happened with stuff sent to you. That wasn't me. I'm not responsible for that. I will collaborate with others when they find useful information, like Runyon's photos being used in a video. I will gladly collaborate with people who find stuff like that out because I want to know more. I don't have eyes everywhere. I don't have the ability to recognize every single photo that comes through, but some people, you get enough eyes on a situation, someone's potentially going to recognize it. And that doesn't mean everyone in that group is a good person. And I'm sorry if they're not. But you can't hold me personally responsible for the actions of every person. So I just hope that we've cleared up some things tonight. I am an amateur astronomer. I'm not a professional astronomer. I don't get paid to do this. I don't get paid to do YouTube. I don't even get paid to recommend people to telescope.net. I don't get kickbacks for that. I'm a scientific advisor for them, but I'm not paid by them. So I hope a lot of myths about me have been dispelled tonight. And come see my hangouts for yourself if you don't believe me. I show all the information I collect. I'm completely transparent with it, and I don't make up stories. So with that, I guess I'll turn it over.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm here.
What would you like to say before we close out tonight, and then I'll finish it up?
Well, just before we went on the air, one of Astronomy Live's minions Jake Riley sent me some text messages wishing me the best and could not wait to see Astronomy Live destroy me in front of the Leak Project's audience. So once again, that's my point. Let me give you some advice, Astronomy Live. Take yourself away from the minions, because if you are who you say you are, and I mean, you obviously seem like a very intelligent individual, then why would you need lowlifes to support you? I mean, if anything, I'd be expecting to see you hanging out with some very, very intelligent, well-to-do individuals instead of a guy who sold used cars and delivered pizzas and some chick that makes freaky hangout videos. So, you know, you want to talk about credibility and this and that. Hey, you know what? I'm not worried about my credibility. I'm going to bring, and I'm going to continue to bring whatever information I receive, I'm going to bring it to whoever will listen. That's the bottom line. And I'm going to add something else here. From day one, you, that WTF Sky, Mari and Jake, and Dazza the cameraman have specifically targeted me and Steve Olson. Only us. Go back. Look through the videos of both of these YouTube channels, actually all three. So we were the prime target, and I will stress the word target of these people. They targeted us. So out of all of the YouTube channels on YouTube that produce doomsday videos about Nibiru and Planet X, there has to be thousands of them. But we were the only ones targeted on a daily basis. So that only tells me one thing, Rex, that we are opening up some wounds. We're opening up some sores and pouring salt into them. And the disinformation campaign, well, that's been handed over to somebody, because they sure as hell targeted me, and they still do. I have good control over it now. But I'm sure something will fester within the next 24 hours of this video coming out. So, you know, that's all I have to say. I will continue in my investigations. And quite frankly, I don't care who, you know, accepts what I have put out there. I mean, my channel just topped over 10 million views in 6 months. We're creeping up on 50,000 subscribers. And these people are fantastic. And the more eyes in the skies, the better. We'll continue to use our 10-cent cameras and the little educations that we have, because we are on a journey to find out the truth. That's the bottom line. And whoever out there wants to target me, go ahead and target me, because I do not stand for it. I fight back. I'm not like the other channels that sit down and cower. I stand up and fight. That's what I'm all about. So continue to target me, continue to make the simple videos, continue to try to discredit me. I don't care. It does not faze me. I will continue each and every day. That's all I have to say.
Well, I would just like to clarify one thing, and that is that I haven't targeted you exclusively. I haven't even targeted you and WSO exclusively. I have done many different videos about many different things in the last few weeks and months. I did a video back in late January about the orbits of the planets being disturbed, and that was based on a claim made by Higher Truth Channel, which is, you know, a whole nother channel. And then I've got, you know, this video mostly aimed really at Chris Potter's videos and his SDO eclipse season stuff. You know, I did a whole tracking of SDO and the whole prediction thing. You know, that's a broader situation and claim that doesn't just limit itself to these two channels, WSO and Nibiru channel. I have a finite amount of time. I don't have time to address every single doomsday video or doomsday channel that's out there for obvious reasons. But with the time I do have, I do enjoy addressing these claims when I see them. And so when my channel gets lied about, when I'm, you know, slandered and it's said that I don't own a telescope and that some physicists have produced a paper that debunks what I said, et cetera, et cetera. When these sorts of stories come out, obviously I'm going to want to address and continue to monitor the source of those stories, so that I can, clear my name on these things. Many different allegations have been made against me that I don't have a PhD, that my PhD's in, philosophy, right? All these ridiculous things that are completely false, and it doesn't
No
benefit.
offense, Scott, you're a brilliant guy, but I don't think philosophy is your strong suit.
Yeah, no, that's not what I went to college for. Sorry, I didn't go for college for basket weaving or philosophy. No offense to philosophers. So
Or basket weavers.
or basket weavers. Yeah, no, baskets are important too. So
Speaking of baskets, man, I gotta throw something out here real quick, and I'm going to digress for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Louis Anderson, who doesn't remember 10, 12 years ago, the media comes out and says he hung himself, he committed suicide shortly after the Family Feud, being the host of Family Feud. I've talked to several people that remember that identically. And now he's alive and well, and he's playing in a TV series called Baskets. Hello. That's a conspiracy.
I saw a pretty funny video about the Mandela effect on the Angry Video Game Nerd channel, Cinemassacre. There was a video he did a few months ago, back around Halloween, I think, called I forget what he called it. It was about the Bernstein Bears. Now, I don't know if you heard about the Mandela effect about that. About the
Bernstein Bears. And Bernstein. Yep.
Bernstein. Yeah, he did one. It ends up with, because it's a Halloween video, it ends up with Bloodstain. It's pretty funny. So
Beautiful. I love it. Well, and on that note, let's close out on a positive note if we can. I know it's going to be kind of tough because I can definitely feel the wounds on both sides here. So I just want to say I really genuinely appreciate both you guys coming out here, putting yourselves on the line, giving your information. I appreciate both you guys. And I would like to give a quick shameless plug to my top shelf sponsors if I can. Thank you very much. GetTheT.com. If you guys are looking for the best of the best in detox products, incredible products, GetTheT.com. Use the code LEAK Also, One Tactical Gear. If you're looking for the brightest, lightest, strongest flashlights on the market. And if you are worried about Planet X or Nibiru still after this interview, we do have some good products for you with foodforliberty.com. Or if you're just wanting to prepare for possible scenarios, earthquakes, global collapse, financial collapse, whatever. I mean, seriously, it's organic. It's 25-year plus shelf life. It is really good product, and it doesn't taste like camping gear. And Noble Gold Investments, if you're looking to diversify your investments. That's my shameless plug. And leakproject.com, youtube.com/clandestine time lord. Make sure to check out the Astronomy Live channel and the Nibiru channel, Planet X 2016. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
No problem, Rex. Take care, buddy. Welcome to the party.
You guys have a fantastic evening.
Thanks.